celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life with Stirling Fox on AM 650.
Talking boating here with our guests from Boating BC, Lawrence Fronczek and Christof Marti. Lawrence with Specialty Yacht Sales, Christof Marti from Simply Sailing, both based on Granville Island. We're talking, telling some great stories here. Christof sharing the story of the Ontario couple who really did that TV commercial, that Freedom 55 thing, right down to literally sailing off into the sunset. That's a great story, and all of us can imagine ourselves in that situation. You have a Christmas present story.
Oh, yes.
That's equally entertaining from particularly, I suppose, a yacht broker's point of view.
Yes. I had a lovely lady came down to me in early December and said, look, our family's been looking at wanting to get into boating. She was in her 60s at that time, and said, for whatever reason, they'd kept putting it off. And
they'd never bought one.
They'd never bought one.
Interesting.
And her husband had said, look, let's wait another year, another 2 years, and so on. And we've got some other things on the go right now. Delay. But he told her, he said, this year you can have whatever you want as long as it can fit underneath the Christmas tree. And so she came down to me, told me this story, and I had an idea. I said, look, well, what if I hoisted the Christmas tree to the top of the mast? And her eyes just widened. She says, that's it. That will get him. He's in. And so that's what we did. I hoisted the Christmas tree to the top of the mast, and on Christmas morning, she walked him down on Granville Island under the Mr. Norman coming down for a coffee, and Tony just walking down Granville Island. And just happened to come over by the docks, as some people do, and pointed up to see the Christmas tree. And there I was standing and so on, big smile on my face, and she had a big smile on hers, and he turned bright red, then started laughing and said, okay, you've got it.
Absolutely.
This is it.
A classic gotcha moment.
Yeah, exactly.
It's under the Christmas tree on a technicality.
And they've been sailing on that boat ever since.
Is that right? So they still have the same boat?
They still have the same boat.
Interesting. And they hadn't owned a boat before.
No.
And how long did it take these absolute raw amateurs to become sailors?
Well, I've got customers now and really good friends, because it's all about the relationships on the water.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I've stayed in this industry is about the relationships and the friendships that I've met. The friends are lifelong, and whether you're going to a small dock, wherever, it's about that community. And there's no hierarchy on the water. It's wonderful. If you have a 24-footer or an 80-footer, you show up at a dock, everybody's there to lend a hand docking the boat. There are no hierarchies, and that's something that I think is so important and makes this different from any other kind of lifestyle.
Right.
Sorry, get me back on track there. What was the question?
No, we were just talking about. Now you see, you've got me all confused too. So why don't we just end up talking about buying boats from a strategic point of view? We've talked about the love of the boat ride and the sport, but the nuts and bolts of buying a boat, whether it's a pre-owned or brand new or whatever, are. It's from the financing perspective, you approach it as you would a car, an RV, a residential property. Banks do boats just as well as they do any other commodities, don't they?
That's right. Absolutely.
And so it would be, you would look at buying a boat from the same perspective as buying anything else. You would probably have so much down, and then you would finance the rest, and over a certain period of time that is negotiable.
Exactly.
So it's not climbing Mount Everest, is it?
It is not climbing Mount Everest.
Well, a lot of people seem to think it is.
No, it's a very simple process, and if you're talking with a British Columbia Yacht Brokers Association member, they'll walk you through all the processes, whether you're buying a new boat or a pre-owned, where you're having a survey, a mechanical inspection, a sea trial to make sure that everything works and functions properly on the boat, and handing it over, and the financing side. And they'll also help you out find moorage, because moorage is really attainable. It is available all over.
Moorage as in the place you park the boat.
Exactly. First Nations have done an absolutely fantastic job in opening up marinas that are available to and share with all of us.
Oh, I see.
And so there's marinas available up and down the coast that do have moorage. It is easy to find, and the best access to those are through the BCYBA.
Okay, so again, I suppose when we're talking to boomers, particularly those who, like the lady with the Christmas tree, isn't she smart?
Oh, yes.
But in their 60s, never owned so much as a dinghy in their whole lives, and all of a sudden they got a sailboat.
Well, and another thing, a wonderful story is how I got started. I mentioned that I sold my first boat at 14. Well, my father said, why don't you come and work the boat show? This is back at the old Pacific Coliseum. and I was sitting on a Yamaha 13, and the boat show used to be 10 days back then. I sat through, I cut out some classes, sat through the boat show. At the end, 13 Yamaha 30s were sold. None were attributable to me. But how he got me there was he said, well, if you sell one of these boats, I'll give you $1,000. Well, $1,000 to me at 14
year old might as well have been $1 million.
Well, yeah, I didn't understand what that meant. So I calculated it out in 10-speed bicycles. That made sense. I could see how many 10-speed bicycles I could buy at the time.
Okay.
And that was what I was looking forward to. And I worked very hard. It was years later. So at the time, no boat was attributable to me. Now, going back maybe about 10 years ago or so, a customer came into our office, and my father, Harry, was sitting there next to me in the office, and he comes and he says, well, I've got a Yamaha 30, and I'd like to sell it. We've decided to, get a power boat, and but I've had this boat since new. I said, oh, you bought it brand new? Oh, fantastic. I thought I was going to meet the gentleman that likely would have sold it to him way back when and reconnect these friends over so many years.
Of course.
Maybe a 30-year difference at that point. And he goes, well, no, I didn't buy it from a broker then. I bought it from a young boy, 14-year-old blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy. And I'm looking at my father going, well, you owe me $1,000. Well, I never got that $1,000, but that's how I got started.
Isn't that something? That's a great story. And here you are, more than a few weeks later, still as cranked up about boating as you were back at age 13.
Absolutely.
And Christof, the same kind of passion. It's wonderful talking to boaters on this program because there's boaters are just so pleasantly crazed. And you're absolutely right. There's no hierarchy on the water. It is a community. And if you're a sailor and you run into some problems, you're glad you're part of the community because some nice person there who was going to throw you a line and get you out of trouble.
Everybody will.
And they can't be as hey, you get some problem. Can we throw you a line?
You can't help enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Guys, we're out of time. BoatingBC.ca is the website. Any other information that our two guests have failed to provide, that's unlikely, in this past hour, is available in spades at BoatingBC.ca. Christof and Lawrence, thanks both for
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great conversation. Simply Sailing and Specialty Yacht Sales. Next time you're down on Granville Island, come on by and say hello to the guys.
Absolutely. Thank you.
See you next time on Boomer Life.
Thank you.